Greetings to Discovery of Self. This is Yana, and we have Kareem in the background doing the techie stuff. We've been on hiatus for a few.
I'm hearing you cut out.
Okay, was that the background noise? Was that you?
No, it was. It's not the. It's not noise. It was just that the connection was just cutting in and out.
It's cutting in? Okay, I'll try to move closer and let me know if you, or send me a message or something, and then that way I'll know it and I'll repeat myself if I have to. So can you hear me now really well?
No, I hear you.
Okay,
yeah, I hear
great.
you well now.
Awesome. So just introducing Discover Yourself, DOS for short, and we've been kind of, absent for a few weeks, but we're back and we got like two more guests to bring to y'all. So today we have the lovely Stephanie Fleitas. Am I pronouncing your last name wrong? Stephanie? Oh, did we lose Stephanie?
Hello?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
the connection's like I heard a little bit of the introduction.
We're gonna have fun with it. We're gonna have fun with this technology. I was just introducing you, and I was asking. Yeah, I was asking if your name. How do you pronounce your last name?
If my what? My name?
Yes, your last name. How do you pronounce it?
Oh, Fleitas.
Fleitas. So Stephanie Fleitas, and we're gonna try to get this techie together. We're gonna have fun with this connection, but we're gonna make it happen, however it happens. So we'll see. So welcome,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I've been wanting to have you on DOS for a while. You're just a breath of fresh air, and I totally enjoyed your last post. And what was it? I was just looking. It's not in the Bahamas. Where was it? It was one of the Caribbean islands.
Thank you. I heard a fresh breath air.
Oh, that's the most important one. Okay. Yeah. No.
But if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
You can hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Well, I wanted to tell you guys that I did check out your site and I like the concept and what you guys are doing. I think it's fabulous. So kudos to you guys because it's definitely needed. So
yes.
I love that you guys are sharing everybody's story and it brings people together and it gives people a space to see that no one's really that different.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all on this journey together, and it's all about connecting and sharing, So everyone's on a different process.
Definitely.
So I'm just gonna keep it short on my end and have you do most of the talking. I'll just, kind of ask you some quick questions because we're not sure how this technology is going to treat us today. So,
okay.
So at Discovery, so you got to see our website. So it's basically, we want to kind of just know everyone's process on how they found bits of themselves that they didn't know and the journey that they took. And more importantly, like their childhood, how it all started for them. So if you can give us a synopsis of, your growing up and exposure to this realm, that would be wonderful.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear anything that you just said.
I'm gonna type it in because we're gonna get this information. Okay, I'm gonna be typing it in, and then tell me if you see it, and then you can answer. That's probably how it's gonna be. It's gonna be a funky interview, but we're gonna make it happen. There we go.
Oh, here we go. I'm getting your writings.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here. You're asking me on my process and how I became who I am, the process of self-discovery.
Yes.
Wow, that's a loaded question. The process of how I became who I am. I don't even know where to start with that. Just in general, like,
Yes, just things that kind of happened in your life, as much as you want to share how you got triggered to seeing things differently.
oh, okay, so more of what what's my process of self-discovery and spirituality.
Yes.
Okay. Well, pretty much I've kind of been on this path since I was really little. I felt when I was really young, just asking a lot of questions. I felt out of place a lot of times, and just feeling that my environment wasn't reflecting the way that I felt that the world should be, or how I saw it. So I guess in a way you can say that I had an awareness from early on, but I believe that most of us all do. It's just we kind of get learned out of it. But really, I guess the pivotal point of my life when I think that I really started digging deep and went from being very angry and not self-loving to myself, and really got to know who I am and started the process of self-love and dove more into my spirituality was probably when I was 16.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me well?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. When I was around 15, I went through a major depression. When I was really young, I was just really depressed with my life. I was just very, nothing was going right. Like, alienated. School was really hard. Friendships were really hard. You know, at that age, being a teen, especially being a girl, trying to figure out the world, who you are, and how you fit in, is a lot.
Yeah.
So I went through a little depression around there, and I just didn't want to be here for a while. So certain things happened where my mother, I went to a psychologist, I got on some pills, and then I got myself out of it, and I wanted to change, and I told my mom that I needed, or I wanted to move to New York, like changing schools and just kind of starting new. And at that point, I had reached such a low point that it's almost when you reach such a low point that you need to stop caring what other people think, because you don't even have the energy to care what anybody else thinks, because you're just trying to keep yourself afloat. So I think for me that was a pivotal point. It was really when I stopped caring what other people thought, and I just focused on what I thought about myself and focused on how I can make myself happy, because I wasn't happy. And that's really what started the process of getting to know who I am, loving my own company. So, and then a year later, when I was 17, my mother got really ill and was in the hospital. So that was the next trigger in my spiritual path, because it really forced me to dig deeper within, because of the previous years since I had been so depressed. So yeah, that's a little bit without getting into so much detail. I don't know how much detail you guys want.
No, I mean can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. No, that's in a nutshell, I think that's more or less what everyone kind of goes through to a certain degree. Just that, rock bottom, that just numb feeling, that they are unique, that they are different, and that they're not really happy with their life. And for you, it happened at such an early age that I just wanted to kind of ask you, like, how did it come about to where you started to like get yourself out of that depression and starting to find yourself? Because that's such a young age. You're still, finding yourself. You're still trying new things. So how was that process for you? What triggered it, or what helped you come out of it?
Mm, let me see. I'm gonna put myself back in that place. I guess really what started helping me was when I reached that really low point where I was just really unhappy and I was just really depressed. Nothing. It just got to a point where I was just numb. I didn't feel anything, and I just really didn't want to be here. And that's really when I had asked my mother. I went to my mother and I told her, I was like, look, there's something seriously wrong with me because I'm just unhappy and I don't know what to do about it. Nothing works. And that's when, I started going to a psychologist. That was the first step that started helping me a little bit because I had an outlet. But the truth, I think for me, has been always my faith. So I did a lot of writing. My writing has always been my best friend. I talk about it a lot on Creating Within, because writing for me has been the one thing where I'm able to put everything on paper, and then when I read back at it, I'm able to psychoanalyze myself, and I'm able to see patterns or just basically see how I am, and then somehow my higher self always seeps through, and then I'm able to work on myself through that. So it's kind of like a therapist.
Yeah.
But also just I think it's your mindset. I wanted to change, and once I started getting the help and, I went to a psychologist, then I got on pills for a little while. But then I got myself off of them. I only took them for a little while, and then just to balance me out. And then I, told the doctor I don't want this anymore. I don't need them. And I took myself off of them. And then that's when I had a change of scenery, and I just made a decision. I just stopped focusing on the outside world. I stopped focusing on my peers and what they thought. And I spent some time with my kids. So, for example, I realized early on that I was the type of person that I didn't like to be alone. I always needed to do something with someone. If I wanted to go somewhere, I needed to see if I had friends to do it with. And then I realized, I was like, you know what, in life, you're going to have to be alone, because it's just part of life. Sometimes you're going to have to be alone, and you got to be okay with it. So I decided to tackle that, and I started just spending a lot of time by myself and enjoying my own company. And over the years, it just grew. It grew so much that now I'm traveling the world by myself. And
Yeah.
So yeah. But just, I guess in a nutshell, it comes down to my faith. Was, between my writing and me always talking to my guides and my angel, and allowing the information to do. It's kind of what kept me afloat. And then once I got myself out of that depression and started finding peace within myself and self-acceptance, and I really think that the key is once we start accepting ourselves and loving ourselves, just everything changes. Everything on the outside starts to completely change. The friends that I thought I never had, I never thought, girls never liked me. And then it wasn't until I started liking my own company, and when I really got comfortable with myself, everything changed. All of a sudden, every girl wants to be my friend, and you're like, what's going on? But you realize that it's deeper than that, and everything starts within, whether we're aware of it or not.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Wow, that's beautiful. That's a neat process, and like I said, your site's name is appropriately termed Creating Within, because that's where it starts, like you mentioned. And I know that for some of us, when we're on this path, we tend to come up against resistance, especially from family members and friends, because we do mold into someone different that they knew. So were there any resistance as you were kind of transforming into, who you are now and still growing? And if so,
wait, say that last part again slowly.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Stephanie? Oh, okay. Okay.
1 second. Were there any resistance from friends and family as I was changing? Well, I guess I guess for me it's kind of I guess for me it's kind of weird because I've always kind of been the outsider of my family, but that's just a common thread I see with a lot of people who are spiritually awakened or who have started to look within early on, and you're usually that one oddball out of the family. So, yeah, because I talk to so many people, and then I see the pattern, and it's usually they're usually the ones that feel always on the outside.
Exactly.
So for me, my family growing up, I was always thought that I was a little nutty, and yeah, my family just thought I was always crazy and just a rebel and really misbehaved. So I don't think that people really noticed my change because my family was kind of so spread out. My mother, when I was really changing, was the only people that I really had was myself and my best friend at the time.
Okay.
So I would say that really people started seeing a changes over the years. Now that I'm older, my family all recognize who I've always been, and now I'm like the spiritual one out of the family. And but actually, a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, I had a conversation with my brother for the first time. I hadn't talked to him in 5 years. We had stopped talking. And it was the first time that we had had a heart-to-heart, and I'll never forget the moment he told me, you know what, Stephanie, I'm so proud of you because you've inspired my path. Like, my brother used to be an atheist. And in the last couple of years, he's had an awakening. And he credits it to me and to seeing me live my life. To him, always been true to who I am. And I remember him sitting down and he told me, he's like, you know what, Stephanie, I always thought that you were crazy. Like, I always thought that you were just out of your mind. And now I realize that you were the only sane one in the family. And it feels so good to hear that from my brother. Because I was like, wow, for the first time he sees me. And it was so awkward too, because I just, we've never had that kind of relationship, and we're just building that now. So yeah, I would say that now is when people really, over the years, they come to AM, but they've always thought it was crazy because I make radical changes. I always did stuff that isn't conventional.
Yeah.
I'm as used to it, and I'm by now. My mom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty neat. I was laughing because when you said, the nutty in the family, I can kind of relate to that. So, so that's why I was laughing. So, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you good. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure that's usually how it happens. We're usually always like the odd ones.
I know. And speaking of not being convention, I'm also fascinated by your traveling. I mean, you were in, I guess, Portugal a couple of weeks or months ago, and I saw your video on that. That was really beautiful. And that's always fascinating me because that's what I, plan to do in the near future, just travel around and connect with people. So I find that very fascinating. So tell me how that started for you, just traveling on your own. How did that come about?
Well, a couple years, like I would say maybe 2 years ago, I was just sitting in my house one day in my office, and I just realized, I was like, shit, like I'm just really unhappy. I was working at the time for Grey Goose. I was on, I think, my third year working with Grey Goose, and I was just really unhappy. I was like, I have a really nice place and I had all this stuff and I get to go to all these fancy parties, but I had no more passion in my job. I feel like I had reached my peak with it. I'd done what I could do with it. And I was just ready to move on. And at that time I had started like creating within. I wasn't really like doing what I'm doing with it now, but I was posting here and there. But it was really where my heart was at, and something inside of me just told me. I remember sitting in my office and upset, and my higher self just kicked in and said, all right, Stephanie, instead of like, what is it that you want to do? You say that you're not happy, but what is it that you want? And so I started having a conversation with myself, and I realized, I was like, you know what do I want? And I was like, shit, I was like, I want freedom. I want to travel the world because I love to learn. So I was like, I want to travel and I want to meet people and I want to connect. And that's like how it started coming together. And then my higher self was like, you have to do to, okay, make that happen. And I was like, oh shit, I was like, I should sell my stuff because I don't need, I was like, I'm making all this money to just pay rent and to have stuff. And then, you never have enough. Yeah. So in that moment, I just decided, okay, I was like, well, in that moment, I decided I'm going to sell my stuff. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm kind of radical, and when I make a decision, I usually make it on the spot. But the interesting thing is that I made the decision 2 years ago, and then I started selling all my stuff. I didn't renew my lease. I started living in room to room, renting from I started people. So I want to share this story with you guys because this is how kind of fear sometimes gets in the way. And this was really my first time that I really got a hold of me. So I sold everything. I moved from place to place. I started saving money. I'd saved like $5,000. I still was working. And I was like, well, I can sell my car and this and that. And then you start talking to people. And, I start doubting myself because you hear, your friends and your families, they all love you, but they're all unfortunately going to give you what's possible. So I start getting scared because I'm like, oh my God, what if I sell everything and then I quit my job and I go and travel and then nothing happens and I have to come back and start over again and then I don't have a car. So all these things just started happening. And what I ended up doing is I shifted my focus from traveling onto relationships. So I started trying to focus on finding love and be like, and subconsciously think, if I find love, if I find a partner, then I can travel, then I can focus on creating with you. And it was a year, and then long story short, it took me another year to kind of get off of that. And I finally, I knew it was coming. I got laid off from Grey Goose, and then I started working somewhere else. And I knew my inner voice was telling me, it's time to go, Stephanie, it's time to go. You need to travel. So at that point, I just was like, okay, I can't keep like ignoring this call. And I'm not a fearful person, and I have to walk my talk. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I left my job. I sold my Kuwait ticket to Prague. And here I am almost 6 months later.
Wow.
And in Bali now.
I know. Wow. That's fascinating, and that's important what she said about fear getting in the way and making all these kind of like, if this happens, then I'll go, or I have to wait for this. So that's very gutsy. So I think that's exciting. I was getting excited as you were describing it. So how has that? Go ahead.
No, I was.
Hold on. Repeat again, because you cut off.
No, I was just laughing. I was saying thank you.
Oh yeah. It's like I'm gonna have that process as well. So how has traveling and being in these like wonderful places like affect you, like positively or negatively? Like, how has that been for you?
Well, traveling has it's just been the best decision I could have ever made for myself, and it's obvious because it's coming from within, and I'm actually in the process of writing an ebook about it. It's just been the most amazing thing, and I am so proud of myself for heeding the voice, and I usually always follow my intuition. It took me a little longer this time, but I understand that I needed to understand fear a little bit more so that in the future I can relate with others. But
Mm,
it's been life changing because this traveling for me, everybody travels differently, but for me this has been about traveling within. It's not about the places that I go to and just seeing pretty places. It's really about me following my intuition and getting closer to my higher self. And the fastest way for me to do that has been to travel, because being out here on my own, never traveling by myself, especially to another country, and now I'm on the other side of the world. I don't have anything to rely on except my own intuition.
mm,
So
mm.
doing doing this has allowed me to grow stronger within myself. My own intuitive abilities have strengthened my connection with my higher self. Everything, my path, there's just so many synchronicities. The visions that I have had, like I was talking to someone the other night, and I I remember that before I started traveling, I had a dream that I was going to write um, one of my books. Um, I was like, it's not going to be in Europe. I was like, it's going to be, it's somewhere in Asia, and it's in front of the water. I don't know. And I had shared this with a friend, and the other day we were talking, and he's like, Stephanie, look in front of you. I'm like, and the place that I'm at right now, it's a villa, and it's literally like there's only water surrounding it.
Yeah, I hear it
And
in the
I started
background.
writing. Hello.
Yeah, I hear it in the background. It's so soothing. Keep
Uh,
going.
yeah, and I started writing my ebook just a couple of days ago here.
Wow.
So the journey has just been amazing because there's been the people that I've met, the themes that have unfolded. I'm learning so much about myself. I'm learning about the world, and yeah, it's just there's nothing like it. No money can buy the kind of experiences that I'm getting out here
Yes, I
simply
can
by following my intuition.
exactly. I can totally relate. I can totally like sense and like kind of indirectly vicarious experience what you could be going through. So that's the ultimate, you know. And traveling would do that to you, especially alone. So um, I'm curious to know what when you started your traveling process, like what kind of uh, themes, like you said, came for you? What did you start realizing about yourself that you kind of never knew that kind of started to creep up?
I realized, I guess it's just it's reinforced things like it's made me realize that I'm, even though like I like a lot of nice things and I like clothes, and some of my family and friends, they think I'm fancy. Um, the truth is that I realized like I'm very simple as well. Like I can fit in, I can blend in any environment. And I'm really surprised myself. I've been living off of a backpack with 10 outfits, and I've managed to make them work and look different all the time. I don't have my nails, my nails and my toes are not done, and I usually always like they're so stupid things, but things things that I would care about before, like, oh my god, I need to have enough money to get my nails done. Now I'm like, my nails are a mess, my feet aren't done, and you know what? I don't really even care about it. I don't focus on how I look or what I'm wearing. So in that perspective, it's taught me that I'm really simple. I can be really simple, and I can blend in with my environment. And it's also taught me that it's also shown me too as well that home is wherever I'm at. Like I realized that I don't have a home. Like I feel comfortable in every country I've been in. Like I feel I feel comfortable. I feel like I'm home. I can meet people and easily connect. So it's reinforced that to me, and realized that home is just simply wherever I am.
That's beautiful. Yes, beautifully said. Exactly. I can totally kind of sense just the peace and the serenity and the joy in you. It's so remarkable. It's like I'm rocking back and forth, just kind of feeling just that feeling. Oh,
Wait, say that part again. I want to hear that. I think
oh,
you broke
I
up.
can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Aw.
Okay. I'm gonna type it. So I was
It's
just
cra-
saying I could totally feel the peace, serenity, and joy within you. And
oh
I was
yeah.
rocking back and forth, just listening to the ocean and feeling like I was there with you. And I have a big smile on my face.
Aw. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really neat. It's like my cheeks are getting really warm. Um, so it's just, it's splendid, it's really splendid. That's beautiful. So that's what I admire about you and just seeing you through these travels. Um, it's just really nice. We get to be part of that. So, so that's awesome. Well, I want to talk about abandonment. You did a recent video. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
You said abandonment.
Abandonment, because that's another issue that I resonate with too. And you talked about death and all different levels of abandonment. Um, I really liked the video. It kind of brought me back to when my great grandmother died, and just being abandoned, by my father and by my mother somehow. So that video really hit home. So I just want your take on what abandonment means to you and the different levels, and how do you cope with that process, with that experience.
So, what is you want to talk about abandonment on a different level and how to cope with it?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So just to get on the topic, because I can go off in tangents, and
It's okay.
specifically for abandonment. What how do you want to gear the conversation? Where do you want to take it?
Well, the different types of it, and because usually people associate that with someone leaving them, but death can be
Yeah.
an abandonment to someone leaving you,
Yeah.
or feeling abandoned in general. So yeah, so just your take on
Yeah.
it and its effects.
Well, abandonment, I think, is one of those topics that I feel like affects so many of us. It's almost something pretty common, um, especially in the United States, because from the traditional sense, we come from broken homes more times than not, divorced parents. So that's usually the first form that people think about abandonment, a parent leaving you, not being there. But abandonment also comes in the form of death by losing someone. It doesn't necessarily need to be a parent. It could just be somebody that you're really close to. And it also comes in the way of you physically have your parents there, but they neglected you emotionally, so you're still abandoned. Or some kids have parents locked up in prison and stuff like that. So all of those are forms of abandonment, and it affects so many of us. But when I did the video, I wanted to talk about just that tool for the grieving process, because abandonment is such a heavy topic.
Mm.
But it's something that I think that we all need to look at and really heal within ourselves, because the truth is that the child within us was abandoned. But now us as adults, we have to recognize that, and we need to go into those wounds and heal it. But at the same time, once we look at our wounds and we feel it and we sit with it and we nurture that inner child, we also have to come to a point where we need to let go of our stories, I feel, and realize that it happened. We were abandoned. And not use, because I think sometimes it works against us, because what ends up happening is that we use our story as a crutch to not move forward in life, to not allow another person to get close to us, to not give love. And although the abandonment is very real and it affects us in very deep psychological and emotional ways, the goal is that once you recognize that you have this abandonment, is to go in there and to try to heal and bring light to those wounds and nurture yourself, and then start moving in the direction of taking steps to heal that. Like, for me, the example I can give to illustrate it was when I was 17 and I recognized that I had an abandonment issue from my father because I couldn't get into relationships. Was, I first had to acknowledge that I had an abandonment issue. Once I realized that, I went in with it, and I went back to my past memories, and I started dealing with it. And I set out to find my dad and things like that in my case. But I think the goal is to do what you need to do to be able to move past it and to not be a prisoner to your past.
Yeah, that's important. Not having that victim mentality and being that, being like letting the past define you and control you in a way.
Yeah, because it very much can, and it sucks because no child should go through that. I mean, ideally we should be getting the love and protection that we needed when we were kids, but the truth is that it's not that way, and that's not how this human experience works. And sometimes we go through shit that sucks, but in the moment we don't recognize it, but it's all adding to our character. And I just believe that our mindset is so important, and that's why we have to have enough love for ourselves to love ourselves so much and love ourselves more than anybody has ever loved us. And for all the love that we didn't get, we have to give that to ourselves, because when you love yourself so much, you're not going to allow yourself to become a victim. You're going to recognize it. Doesn't mean you deny what you went through, but you're going to recognize it, and you're going to move past it, because you deserve to live a life that's not attached to all these stories that are not going to allow you to move forward.
Yes. Yes, beautifully said. Yep. So, Corinne has a question there. So, yay, Corinne.
How has it specifically by your father affected you growing up? Such a feeling that everyone in your life would eventually abandon you. Yes. Well, that's a great question. For me, when I realized that I had the issue, because I never even at first recognized that I had it, for me it was always just like, oh, I'm just a very difficult person, or I have too many expectations. But for me, it started affecting me when I realized that, one, I couldn't commit to guys. Like, I had a really big wall. I'm the type of person now who's very open, but I wasn't like this. Like, if you would have known me when I was in high school, I was a very close person. I always thought I needed to be really tough. I didn't talk about my emotions. I always helped people, but when it came to me, I never really talked about my stuff. And I had this really big wall that I didn't realize that I had with guys, and I would play all these head games, and the minute that a guy would want to get close to me or want something from me, like a relationship, I would just I would disappear on them. And I would have guys for years chasing me, and I realized it was me. I just couldn't commit, or I got to a point where it was really ridiculous. I was like, I don't like his teeth, I don't like his accent. And when I started writing and I realized that I had the issue, what did it for me was, like, I told myself something, and this is why we have to be careful, that we have to realize what we tell ourselves when we're really little. Because most of the beliefs that we have now is something happened to us when we were a child, and we made a decision very early on, and we told ourselves something that now has affected us. So for me, the belief that I told myself when I was really young was, if my own father, who's my own blood, left me, what is in any other man who isn't my blood is going to leave me? So I
Mm.
already assumed that if I got close to a guy and I gave him my heart, he was going to leave me. So instead, I built a defense mechanism where I left them before they could leave me. So I would let them get close enough, but close enough for me to walk away before I could get hurt.
Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful.
And yeah, and that's just not no way to and that's just how it affected me, but it affects people in so many different ranges. And that's just no way to live, because we all deserve to have healthy relationships and to be in love and to know that, you know what, love, yes, you're gonna get hurt, people are gonna leave you, but you're not gonna die. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you're not lovable. It doesn't have to do with you. So you first, it all comes down to, before you can deal with all this, dealing with the abandonment issue comes down, I believe, to self-love.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's where it all starts, you know? That's truly where it all starts. And
Yeah.
that's, in the pattern that you just talked about, that voice, that talk, negative self-talk, uh, yeah, that needs to be unlearned, because that does carry with you. So that's beautiful. Yeah, I learned something. Yeah, because I resonate with that as well. Okay,
uh,
Kareem's on a roll.
if you could add, how did abandonment affect your brother? Yeah. Well, see, when it comes to my brother, which is funny because I'm actually, I just reached out to my brother to have a candid conversation with him to help other people, because believe it or not, my brothers and I are not as close as I would like us to be. But my brothers and I we have two separate dads. I have one and they both have the same father, but I wouldn't know how abandonment affected them because they never talk about it. I do know that my brother's father died when they were 17. My oldest brother, I think, was 17 when their father passed. So, and I know that it's affected him because my brother has a lot of resentment towards my mom and towards things, and a lot of the issues that we've had growing up and why he's not close to family, I know has to do because he's had a lot of buried anger and stuff that he hasn't dealt with.
Yeah.
But exactly what that is, we've never had a conversation like that. And that's why now I have my little inner voice ask me, and I'm going to have a candid conversation with him, because finally my brother is in a place where for the first time ever he can talk about things like this and talk about emotions. He can never do that before.
That's that's beautiful, and how beautiful you can be that support for him. You know, that's that's neat because that's important to feel supported, to feel heard, and to feel like you can open up, you know, and share your story. So, because
Say that part again, that it's important.
it's important to have that support and that someone that you can open up to and share those feelings because it's
Yeah.
challenging, it really is. So yeah, once again I resonate because I'm not close to my siblings and we're just getting closer in our adulthood and finding out a lot of stuff that I didn't know about them. So I'm
Isn't
glad
that
yeah.
that's that's crazy? And actually, I heard something that you said, and I wanna touch on a quick point you said about that sometimes it's good because you need someone to be able to open up to,
Mhm.
and I think that's a great point. In this topic that we're talking about abandonment, but also just in general, we all need some form of outlet to be able to talk to someone and share how we're feeling. Now, we also have to recognize that sometimes we feel that we don't have those people, but sometimes we do, and we're just so closed up in our pain
Mm.
and so unwilling to look at our emotional world that it doesn't allow us to open ourselves up to others as well. So I think that for anybody listening, it's something to keep in mind, because I think that the biggest key why I'm so adamant about the inner world is because it affects everything. And the whole reason that we're humans and what makes this experience so difficult is our emotional world. And it's the one world that we haven't mastered. You know, our society, we've mastered the logical mind, we've mastered our bodies, but we haven't even touched the surface of our emotional world.
Yeah, I totally agree. If that could be transformed and worked on and not shied away from, oh, people would just start transforming the world, 'cause that's where it starts. That's so true. Yeah, the emotional intelligence.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Emotional intelligence.
yes, that's beautiful. Oh, gosh. Well, Kareem, do you have any other questions? I guess not, because he's not typing. So, like I said, because we have some techie problems, but oh, okay.
Oh, he's
Oh,
good.
all right. Wow.
Let's see.
Okay.
Um, it is more relaxed and laid back, and is it more relaxed and laid back in the places that you have visited and traveled to? Do you think it has allowed you to focus more on yourself and grow and heal rather than having to live up to the standards and norms that you find in the Western society, such as other states? Do a lot of the problems people have in the Western world cease to exist because of the lack of having specific things in other countries? Oh, this is great questions.
Yeah,
Um,
she's amazing.
okay, so to answer the first question, is it more relaxed and laid back in the places that I've visited? Then I would say that yes, life travel. Since I've been traveling to the places I have, it's very different from the Western world. Europe was different, but even now being in Indonesia and Bali, it's completely a different world. Even from Europe, like it is just, yeah, it's just a whole nother world. And it is definitely more laid back. And it has a lot to do, and this is another reason why I've been loving traveling so much, because if you travel within, if you travel for the purpose of growing and connecting with your higher self, you start to realize that all the stuff that we've been sold, like we already know it, but you like know it even more. You experience it like on a visual level. That half of the shit that we worry about back home is so not important. So like, I look back and I'm like, I've been traveling on, not a lot of money, and I've been managing to be out here. And when I was home, I realized I was making $55,000 a year, and I didn't think that was enough. I never had money. I was always living paycheck to paycheck. And now I'm like, do you imagine what I could do with that? Living off of, $500 a month. So, but it's our priorities.
Yeah.
Here in Indonesia, one of the things I notice is people have a lot less. Yes, definitely, it's so different from Europe. It's not as clean. Everything's not as pretty and put together, but it's raw, and there's such a grounding energy in Bali. It's just like the Indonesian people they work so hard, but they enjoy life, and they're so happy, and they have some of the most genuine smiles I've come across. And they walk without shoes, and they eat with their hands, and it's just so like a relaxed atmosphere. It's really about enjoying life. So traveling for me has just it just reinforced what I've already known, but even more that you don't need a lot of things. You really don't, to be happy. And I know it sounds so cliche, but honestly, like the things that make me happy is I catch a sunset. I've never seen so many sunsets as I have now traveling. And it's one of my favorite things to do, to just be able to have a cup of coffee or juice and watch the sun go down.
That's
And
beautiful.
yeah, it's things like that. And so traveling, to the other question, which was really good, you have a lot of time to think, and that's why I want to encourage. That's why with what I'm writing, I want to encourage people to travel and to travel within, because this is one of the best ways it doesn't mean that you need to travel the world forever. This is what you want to do, but it is a good way to, number one, know what it is to live in the moment, really live in the moment. Yesterday, a friend and I were sitting by the beach at night, and we were just having this conversation. This is the first time in a long time that I don't think about the future. Like, before I started traveling, I always lived in the future of all the things that I wanted and my dreams and how I was going to make this happen, or the guy that I want to meet, you know? And I don't think about those things. Like, I've been living moment to moment.
Wow.
And in living moment to moment, you realize that everything you need happens. Like, all the information, when I need the money, when I need somebody to a place to stay, everything that I need just happens. I don't even have to try to figure it out. And that's one of the things that I've loved about traveling, is that I really get to live moment to moment. I don't have the anxiety of the future, you know. I'm not even worried. I'm like, am I running out of money? I'm not even worried about it. And when I don't worry, then things happen. And the right person that I need to meet is put on my path. And that's really how I feel that our life is meant to live, because when you live in the moment, it's the time where you connect with your intuition, and that's when your higher self can give you all the information you need to figure out how to make your life work.
Wow. Yes.
So, I mean, this is such an in-depth topic, but and so it's different from the Western world, because the Western world wants to keep you, and I don't mean to knock it, but from a spiritual perspective, let's speak the truth. You know, being in the rat race and focusing on the pop culture and all this, you know, and the latest clothes and, you know, all this stuff, it's cool, okay, you know, but reality is that all that is doing is keeping you distracted. Because as long as you're on survival mode, as long as you're worrying about, you know, living paycheck to paycheck and worrying about keeping up with all the latest, you know, keeping up with the Jones, you don't have time to focus on your spirituality. You don't have time to focus on the bigger questions in life. And, you know, you just kind of stay living in a very low vibration. And that's kind of the energy of the Western world. There's a lot of great things with it, but there's also a lot of stuff where it just keeps you very disconnected from who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
sorry, that was a lot.
no, I think, and it was, those were great questions, Kareem. I think over here, you said it really perfect. You know, those are distractions. They're there for a reason, you know, and it focuses people to focus on the external when they're supposed to be focusing on the internal. So, and that's, and when you see that in other people, and you know the damage that it could do, it's kind of, you know, heart wrenching for me to see, because everyone's on a different path of evolution. So, because then you have people that really think that's the life, that's how life is supposed to be, you know.
Exactly.
So it's sad in a way, and it's, you know, it's all about educating and connecting people to, you know, information, you know.
Exactly. And he said he asked a question at the end about, like, if some of the things that we, like depression and insecurity that we experience in the States, you know, I can't generalize for everything, but from my experience and the people that I've met and just from what I observe, there isn't, like certain countries in Europe and stuff like that, like I know in Croatia, for example, like depression and stuff like that, like there's not a lot, like psychology is not a business out there. Like people don't really work through their stuff that way. So I do have a sense that there are less depression and insecurities and even like obesity and stuff like that in the places that I've been. And it doesn't mean that it ceases to exist, that none of it exists, but I don't think that it exists to the degree that it does in the States. And that's because in the States, you know, we are constantly over consuming. We're focused on all these things outside of ourselves. We're always chasing something. And in that chasing, of course, we're going to be depressed because we're never measuring up to what we think we should have. Especially when you look around, like, I mean, even me working in the music industry, like that's just a whole nother world, you know, that's not really reality. It's one small portion of the world. But when you live in it and you're constantly watching TV and you're constantly trying to keep up with all these new fads, you're going to feel insecure. You're not going to feel enough. You're going to feel that, you know, you have to go out and get that new car. And so then hence the reason why we have as many problems as we do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like empty calories if I can compare it to the food world. It's pretty much all the stuff that you've talked about, you know. Doesn't fill you up, or if it does, it's temporarily and it's not really fulfilling, you know. So that's a great point to make. So
Wait, say that again. You broke up.
oh, I said that which part? I was just saying that it's not really fulfilling. Kind of like you said, chasing after these, they're all like empty calories. You know, it really doesn't um, fulfill you in a way. It's just, you know, a temporary fix. You know.
No, hold on.
I broke up. Can you hear me?
It's breaking up a little bit.
Okay. Well, I wanted to catch a few more things, and
Okay,
on
now I
my
can hear you.
okay, on my Skype counter it says 56 minutes, and I said I would value your time and all that because we had some techie problems, but I could sit here hours and hours and talk to you, but time is of the essence, as they say. Um, but I wanted to kind of, you know, ask you for lasting words. I kind of have this little game, and I actually got it from Ralph Smart on an interview he did one day, and he just it's like a phrase, you know, like I say a phrase and you fill in the blank. So, and they also use it in the psychology world. It's really neat, like whatever comes to mind. So I would like to kind
Wait,
of do that. Oh,
sorry, hold on.
okay,
I caught a little bit of that, and every other word is cut out.
okay. So type when I'm cutting off, and then I'll just pause. So can you hear me now?
Say something now.
1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3.
Okay, now it like comes and goes. Okay, now I can hear you.
I'm gonna speak like Speedy Gonzalez, so you can get it. No, I just wanted to kind of, you know, ask if you have any lasting words before I play this little game that I like to play at the end with my guests. Just any
Okay.
words of inspiration, motivation to our viewers.
Yeah. My message is always and will always just be to look within. You know, we have all the answers that we're looking for, and my biggest advice and piece of wisdom that I can offer to anyone listening is just really, really make your inner world a priority. When we take the time to really get to know who we are and to figure out how we feel and how we want to think, everything will fall into place, and we really do have everything that we seek inside. So it's, yeah, I just, that's always my thing. If you can look inside and connect with yourself, you will realize that you have an infinite intelligence that lies within you. And when you can access that, your world will completely change. And I haven't even tapped into the brink of it all, but I know that there's so much within us. There's so much power.
Wow. Yes. Yes, it's all internal. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Woo! Feeling I'm on high right now. um, so okay, so this is a fun game that it just, you know, it really gets to. I really love it because it's like on the spot, like just whatever comes to mind. So, can you hear me? You ready?
Yeah. Yep. I'm ready. I can hear
I'm
you
gonna
now.
say it and type it as well, just in case I break up.
Okay.
So, your greatest gift is.
Oh, okay. My greatest gift is my ability to understand others.
Okay. Love is
Everything.
beach or lake?
Each.
Freedom to me means
Freedom to me means everything.
nice, nice. And lastly, if I could give the world one thing, it would be
If I could give the world one thing, if I could give the world one thing, it would be the power to see who they are.
mm. Oh yes, beautiful, beautiful. Wow, I just feel like we need to have a moment of silence with that beach sound in the background. It's so powerful. I've been listening to it. It's just remarkable. So, um, wow, I enjoyed this interview. I enjoyed this connection, even with all the breakups. Um, I really felt like I was there, like the energy and everything. It's really good. Um, yeah, it was really nice. So thank you for taking the time, out of your busy schedule and out of enjoying your travels. Um,
Of
I
course, no, it was my pleasure. I'm glad that you guys reached out, and I really enjoyed it despite all the technical difficulties. But it was meant. I've tried to meditate before we got on the call and talk to my angels. But honestly, guys, what you guys are doing, what we're all adding to the collective, and trying to get people to look within, because it's the only way that we can change the world is one person at a time. So I also, just really, I'm really grateful for the fact that this is what you guys are passionate about. And, kudos to you guys. And I hope that everything continues to grow in your vision and that you get to travel soon.
Yes, we will meet soon. And my friend Kareem just kindly reminded me, yes, where can our viewers find you? I know you have a website, any other things that you want to put out there so they can find and connect with you as well. So,
Sure. You can connect with me and feed your inner world at creatingwithin.com. My YouTube channel is the same. It's Creating Within. And yeah, stay tuned. If anybody out there is interested in knowing how to travel the world with their intuition, I have an ebook coming out soon in the next month. So just be on the lookout for it.
yes, and hopefully you'll come back and share that wonderful birth called the book with us, though, because that'll be awesome. So,
I definitely will.
oh, well, thank you so much, Stephanie. Like I said, I just feel like very warm and just relaxed right now. Yeah, it's been wonderful. I enjoyed it. So, and thank you, and we wish you the same as well. You're doing an amazing job. And yeah, all the beautiful questions that Kareem, our background guy, did. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So thank you so much and continue great travels. And I will be following you. So, and traveling
Thank
with
you.
you.
Thank you.
Much
We'll be in touch.
love. Yes, keep in touch. All
Likewise.
right.
Bye.
One love. Peace.